Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for September 16th through 23rd, 2025. Well, here we sit in the strange time in between eclipses. It feels like time outside of time, except we've been feeling this increasingly over the last few years. Strange energies, and like we're waiting for something to happen. There's a lot of talk of timeline shifts, and what does this even mean? In the intuitive work with supernova souls, what's come forward is a timeline shift, or a timeline. The definition of a timeline is a vibrational frequency. But as far as time and timelines and understandings of these things go, we're having a lot of indications that we're jumping timelines, and or maybe consolidating timelines, coming into the one singular timeline, the one we're meant to be, what this world wants to be, what you in your heart and soul want to be, that you probably don't even know. Because we've been living in the dark, supernova souls, the darkness, hiding even from ourselves. And so now the astrology is saying all must come into the light, including us. So we're really facing this. I can feel supernova souls having a new level of subtle anxiety because the awakening is happening. You know, the spiritual activation is happening, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So for so long, we felt these activating energies, but we've been able to turn it down when we needed to. And so you're not, it's like coming into these higher frequency vibrations. Of course, you're going to find a new level of fear programming and anxiety and programming unknown belief systems and fears that are going to come up around your power and your light because you're being called forward. So let's talk about this astrology. So we're heading into the second eclipse of this eclipse season, a partial solar eclipse happening at 29 degrees of Virgo, 5 minutes. This happens on September 21st, 22nd, and it is the second new moon in Virgo. So the first new moon in Virgo happened in August at 0 degrees of Virgo. This new moon eclipse at 29. And so there's another indication, because when there's two new or full moons of the same sign, that means it's shifting from, first we'll have the new moon of the cycle and then or the full moon of the cycle, right? And so it's indicates a timeline shift, the fact that we have two Virgo new moons, one at the very beginning, one at the very end, exactly. And this is a portal to the rebirth of Earth and indicating a fresh new start on a new direction. Now, eclipses in general mean timeline changes, changes in things lining up. That's when the eclipses happen. And also something that's hidden being revealed. And wow, have we had a lot of hidden stuff. Pretty much everything we've ever been told in our education system and our society is a lie. And so what's happening is that we know our whole system has to have a complete flip and a turnaround. And this has to do with what true wealth is. We've been giving material, physical items, and paper money all the power and the wealth in the world, and empowering through Babylonian money magic systems, empowering criminal activity. But now we're recognizing that we, the people, we, the stewards of Earth, those who love the Earth and care for the Earth, are actually the inheritors of the resources of Earth, and that includes all the money too. Go ahead and take your paper money. That is not going to be worth anything. So the wealth that we really have and we really want and that we really need is actually taking care of each other, having our needs met, feeling loved, cared for. And yet our caring professions are the least paid and least respected professions. The work of the mother in the home, not respected, not honored. So our whole society, everywhere there's this emphasis and wealth given, value given to false wealth, is going to have to be revealed. And the true wealth must rise. And that's you, supernova soul. So no wonder you're feeling a little anxious and a little uncomfortable in your own body, because your light is turning on. Now, let's talk about this, because the only way forward that Mother says is that we must take back the resources that are rightfully ours to be only used in alignment with the support of humanity, of life itself. And take the money away from the criminal operatives who are trying to hurt us and genocide us and kill us, and poison us left and right. We pay them to poison us. So there's a great overhaul. And what it really comes down to in all of this, and I think this is the energy of what we're coming up to, Venus's next transit. Venus just came out of an intense square with Black Moon Lilith. That was on the 10th of September. We felt that through the last few days. Now Venus is going to move into a square with Uranus, as Venus is moving into the sign of Virgo on the 20th of September. And so as moving into Virgo, we've got Uranus there at 1 degree of Gemini. And so as soon as she moves into Virgo, she loves being home in Virgo, our feminine in the garden, in the earth sign, grounded, safe, clean, sorting things through. But then she's coming into the square with Uranus. Now, Uranus is this question of wealth we've been talking about, because we still haven't gotten the message of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus will be returning to Taurus and then coming back into Gemini in the spring, in the beginning part of 2026. So that's this revaluation of what wealth is. That's the spiritual thing that must happen for us to move forward. So our money system changing is a result of the changing of our ideals of what wealth is. And so humanity has to go through things so they can come back to the wealth that they are. The thing is that if we look at what we know, what Rudolf Steiner has said about this human spiritual evolution, is that we come in connected, say a baby, or at the beginning of this evolution, you come in totally connected, right? Like dropping out of the sky like an angel. Then you drop deeper into the bathtub in your lifetime, going further away from the spiritual impulses so that you can find your way back with more consciousness. Okay, so the whole idea of our evolution is to go away from God or source, or we call it mother, energy, and then, because that's the love and care and nurturing that defines humanity. It's a way to describe it. And so, but in order for humanity to come back to the love that they are, they had to go through the wound of separation. So the wound of separation is what needs to be healed. And it's so stuck with scar tissue and pus and rot and all sealed up in there, this darkness, and it's like we're ripping open that wound of separation so the love can just flow in, or maybe it flows out from us. Supernova souls, we're here to tell a tale, to be the demonstration and show that this is true. So the astrology is completely backing us up with this new moon at the beginning, 2 new moons in Virgo. It's saying, this is a shifting up of the time. Eclipse season, always alignment, timeline alignment, like let's get in gear with the nodes. So the north node of the moon in Pisces, the north node represents how do we get to where we're going. The south node represents what's holding us back from the past. So we're talking karma. And so the north node, when the eclipses happen, it's the sun and the moon lining up with the nodes of the moon, which is the nodes are the interception between the orbit of the sun and the moon. So it's a changing location. But when we get to the eclipses, the nodes just sit at 1 degree, and that degree is so important. And so let's talk about this, because these eclipses are happening at 18 degrees. Incredibly powerful number of taking back authority and transforming back into oneness, wholeness, sovereignty. We've got the 1 and then of wholeness and the 8 of transformation, making 9 saying it's the end of the ego, the death of the lower self. And this is the message we keep getting, like literally you could see this whole month of September as a portal womb into a new earth, rebirthing earth. But it's only a slit, right? Because we got the wound of separation. We got to open that up so we can get through the portal. So you can't take all this extraneous stuff with you, right? And so we're having to face like the deepest hidden stuff in our subconscious that we know we thought we dealt with, and yet it's mirrored right in our face in the most painful ways. I feel like supernova souls, that might be what you could be going through right now, and maybe that will help it make more sense, because we've got to drop the load and come into who we really are and stand in our power, initiate into our sovereignty and our power spiritually. And we don't have a lot of time because we're still healing from going to hell and back in our own way over lifetimes, but particularly these last years. But we have to drop all those stories. We have to love ourselves, and we have to stand up. And you have gone through such uncertainty, such unknown, and you have come back to yourself. The main populace that's still on the ride is going to be going through massive uncertainty, and you are going to be able to be there for them. You finally get to use your skills and gifts. It's going to be challenging and exciting and satisfying, and you will be respected and honored, right? With gratitude and reverence, appreciation, something you never got after being burned at the stake lifetime after lifetime, or whatever's happened to you, supernova soul. Whew, it's a lot to heal, but this time says, so that's where we're talking about with these nodes. North Node in Pisces, we're talking about the persecution, spiritual persecution of the Piscean age. But it's saying the only way to go forward is through the spiritual, reliving the spiritual persecution of the Piscean age, except that Saturn just retrograded back into Pisces. And Saturn into Pisces for the last time is actually an empowerment, because he's going back into Aries for good. And Aries is the I am, the full potential of the whole human. So we're going back into the dark ages to get our permission for the evolution of the full potential of humanity. And so with Saturn back in Pisces, it makes this whole eclipse season with the nodes in these signs a different story. That it's not about having to get stuck back in the dungeons of the darkest feelings of rejection and loneliness and abandonment. It's about reclaiming the mysteries, miracles, and magic. And that is the cosmic Milky Way overflowing cup that can flow into the wound of separation once it's ripped open. Enough suppression and hiding and denying. There is so many people in this world that feel so unsatisfied. They might have all kinds of money and cars and everything you'd ever want, and yet poverty and scarcity within. It cannot stand. This is what's happening. People can run from it all they want, but it's time to come home to mama and get real with what really matters. And it's glorious because we get to be the emissaries, the lovers, the overflowing cup of abundance, because the flipping of the table is from scarcity to abundance. They kept us in the wound of separation through artificially induced scarcity when mother regenerates herself magically. Do you see? There is no other way forward except for total cellular regeneration. We're not going to die. This aging is changing. We are unleashing the regenerative power of the earth, which has been stolen from us, our own life force. And so if people are going to continue to have their body, because typically we face our shit after we die, except for us supernova souls, because we die while we're alive, so that we can really live and really show people how to live now, finally. But if you're going to have life extension and regenerative technologies that we know exist but have been hidden from us, then you better work out your karma, because that shit's not going to work. Say there is this medbed technology that works on consciousness and vibration. It's not going to work if you are not open, if you haven't healed your wound. Right? You have to be to a certain place. So that's where all the other healers are going to come in. Here, there's this miracle healing, but it won't work on you if you can't receive, if you can't drop your ego, if you can't open to it. So that's the role of supernova souls, is preparing people to receive the miracles. That might mean that we have to be first in line maybe we've been so scared about being on the cutting edge of spiritual ascension, and yet maybe we're so scared of being on the cutting edge of massive abundance because we don't feel worthy inside. Where is your life not working? It's because you don't feel worthy inside of the good things happening, because we've been programmed through over lifetimes that we're despicable scum. Except for in Atlantean time, the supernova souls, the intuitive beings, the advanced technological beings, were the highest echelon of society. And that's the flip that must happen. And maybe that's why you're so uncomfortable, because you have to rise, the cream rising to the top. Who was last will be first. And so we are having this massive preparation. We have to completely have an inside-out flip within ourselves from unworthiness to what a blessing it is to exist as I am. And so this is the shift we need to make inside of ourselves. This is our timeline shift. Everything coming forward around the mother's message is saying, hey, AI is playing a role to show you that this is a simulated reality and you have the power to reprogram. So we got to come up with some really good programs and get into them. Maybe little mantras and songs to repeat to yourself, because that is the message right now. Take charge of your life in your third chakra, your power, your personal power. Direct your life, not the stories that they're telling you in the media right now, not the stories that your family and the people around you are telling you about being so worthless. It's like we've got to really connect. And this is actually what's happening, is we're landing home as who we really are. For a myriad of reasons, supernova souls haven't been able to fully incarnate in this lifetime because the density, we just can't fit here, no wonder. And so, but it's actually even more uncomfortable to feel that density shift and free us into the big spiritual beings that we are. And that's what this ascension really is. You know, the frequencies coming in are having the effect of decalcifying our pineal gland. Okay, so the elite ruling satanic class that took over from the bottom of Atlantean time, took over our technologies to rule us. They've been misusing these technologies. And so that's really the tables turning. And now we know the story from the Bible. If we're going to look at the Piscean age and reclaiming the miracles and magic, and the main story of the flip in the Bible, the metaphorical story, is about Yeshua going into the temple and saying, not in my Father's house. We're not going to change money. We're not going to trade money. We're not going to make money off of other people or gamble in my Father's house. This has not, the authority of that message has not been landed yet. That's what's happening 2,000 years later. Landing. Because guess what? All those bank fees, just at the ATM, every time you get a loan, all the servicing fees and that fee and this fee and all the things, they have been, I mean, we can talk about taxes and everything, but let's just talk about the concept of usury. Okay? Usury is when you make money off of somebody else's work, and it cannot be allowed. All those fees have to be returned in the law of the land. And it's like, yeah, that sounds far-fetched, but you just wait and see what unfolds. We need to stand present and be ready and educate ourselves as best as possible and the inevitable changes that are coming, because we're here to harmonize it for humanity and enjoy ourselves immensely while we're doing it. Isn't it time? Don't you deserve the life you came here to live, finally, after lifetimes of it being stolen from you? We stand, supernova souls, in our autonomy, our sovereignty, and we say, you're not in control of our energy and how much we get, right? It's like a controlling parent. Like, well, if you act the way I want you, be the way I want you to be, then I'll support you, right? And it's like, no, I've got my own resources and my own energy. Our Social Security card has been traded as a commodity. That money is ours. No more usury, no more lies, no more deceit, you know? And so what happens when those people who have invested everything in the accumulation of wealth lose that wealth? You know, like, um, nobody's going to lose in the end, but there might have to be an illusion of losing wealth, because we've got to understand what true wealth is and no more usury, no more of the few feeding off the many. Screw you, feed the people. We're not going to do it this way anymore. Supernova souls are fed up and they're stepping into their power. And so just know that that anxiety means you're getting really close to complete and total sovereignty. That owning your energetic field course, so important. Please do this work if you're struggling with the people around you trying to create your reality for you. If you're struggling with health, I have seen amazing things demonstrated to me with the strength of the electromagnetic field. Deep traumatic injuries lifted off in a moment. Deep chronic disease finding its way out of the body as we own our energetic field. You are in charge of your energy and your resources, and you are so wealthy, and get ready to own it, because the wealth can only come back to the people through you. You're the only one good enough that can be trusted. So we are preparing. You know, Mother says, get your act in order, clean up, get organized. What's your project? What's your avenue of abundance? How do you want to help? Because if those funds show up, you got to be ready to go, you know, because you're going to be helping other people figure out their projects and helping them get the funding, you know. So we're just, it's a weird scramble. It's like we're waking out of a really bad dream where we were just kept in scarcity and poverty and beaten down and could, you know, just survival, like trying to get through and live through these last years as targeted souls. And now it's like, shake it off. Guess what? You tried it all and it's not working. And somebody's got to pay the price. Somebody needs, or something, you know, because we know it's not humans, but needs to take responsibility for the actions, for what's occurred, for the continual stealing of money from good people to do evil acts. Every war throughout time, you know? So there's a lot that has to go down for this to resolve. We got to find out about our history. You know, we got to find out about our cosmos. We got to find out about our science and what's been hidden from us. You know, what's been really making me think a lot lately is how all of these hidden technologies that we now know exist, like Tesla technology and free energy and regenerative technologies and all this, were all introduced in the Edgar Cayce readings. Now, Edgar Cayce in his past life, in his last life, when Edgar Cayce, when he lived, he was taken horribly advantage of again and again and again. His gifts and skills as an intuitive were used to make tons of money for other people while he ended up in poverty. Everything that's been stolen from us is represented in who we are in our intuitive group of supernova souls. We are the keepers of the advanced technologies. And we've gotten the message that we can't have disclosure of advanced technologies, or the disclosure comes through us turning our light on. We are free energy. And it's time to take it back. We will not tolerate. We are too sensitive and too loving. We got to take care of people around us, our world, our earth. You know, be in honor with her. We have to show the people and bring them back to her. That was her first message to me. Before I knew who I was talking to, she said, bring them home to me. And we're doing it. That's what these eclipses say. So let's just talk through this, because I wanted to give the evidence of this flip, that now is the time, even though it's going to take months to resolve, right? Because we've got Saturn and Neptune going back into Pisces, Uranus going back into Taurus, and then all of them going back into, you know, Uranus and Gemini and Saturn and Neptune. So Neptune goes back in in January, I believe, into Aries, Saturn in February, and in April, I think that is when Uranus goes back into Gemini. So that's where we're going to be resolving, but we're moving into the darkness, the dark time of the revealing of the dark things that have to be revealed so that the light can come, you know, opening the wound of separation, opening the truth of facing the false scarcity and the false poverty that's been inflicted upon us as they steal our money to do horrible things to us, you know. So what the evidence right now that in the astrology of this flip that's occurring, the turning of the tables, that mother's resources won't be used that way anymore. This is an inside out. This is literally a geometric flip inside out. Our whole world has been outside in, apparently, or the other way around, you know. And that's a flip. And so we have a metaphor of a flip, we have a story of a flip, we have an understanding of a flip, we know our timelines. We're in this strange place where we're just waiting for something to happen. So look at this. So then what's been happening is that we've got this beautiful grand water trine right now. Jupiter sits at 20 degrees, and so not too far out of this grand trine that Jupiter has been in for the last couple of weeks, with Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio and the South Node in Pisces, 18 degrees, right? So we got the eclipses at 18 degrees, a grand water trine at 18 degrees. And then what happened is that as Mercury and the Sun crossed over the South Node in Virgo, it created a kite shape with that grand water trine. And so the top of the kite would be the South Node in Virgo, which we've gotten the message that it's about cleaning up the earth. Like really for good. Like really cleaning up the earth. We're not going to let this toxicity stand. We have miracle cures. We have advanced technologies. We understand that we've been poisoned and we clean it up now, or we don't go forward. Mom says no more. Go clean your room. So, so then that kite shape took form from with the Mercury conjunct the South Node. That was on the 11th and the 12th, and so that's just resolved a couple of days ago. And so between the 14th and the 16th to today is this window of now the Mercury is going to move into the grand air trine kite, into an opposition with Saturn on the 21st, Neptune on the 23rd, but we start to feel that today, or in a couple days on the 18th. So we're in this strange window of flip. Everything says, here's the flip. And so how can we honor that within ourselves of speaking to these energies and say what needs to flip in me? And for us, it's low self-worth to a massive abundance, walking in our own abundant, massive abundance. I mean, it's the only thing that's held us back. And the only way it's been inflicted is by trauma over lifetimes and terrorizing us. Going back to the Atlantean time before the infiltration, the highest valued elite class, the uppity uppers, like, were the intuitive souls, and then the technologies were stolen and used against us. We got beaten down, punished, all the things. And so we had to go there. So you say, wait a minute, this isn't me. And so a lot of supernova souls are going through this right now, great separation. It's like the wound of separation is because I wasn't able to separate from you guys that are not like me. I mean, look at this separation of like, all right, I lived in this environment. I was surrounded by this energy. I was affected by this energy, experienced these traumas, but it's not me. It doesn't define me. It has nothing to do with my I am potential except for catalyzing it. So let's go. Right? We've got to come out of victim. Like we thought we were out of victim, but it's like that's the only button they have left to push, and we're just on the edge of this empowerment. And so as that So what happens is that Mercury on the 17th comes into an opposition with Saturn, and then on the 18th, an opposition with Neptune. So Saturn moving into the sign, because Saturn's in Pisces, so Mercury in Virgo having opposition with Saturn, and then moving into Virgo. I'm sorry, and then moving into the opposition of Neptune in Aries as Mercury moves over into the sign of Libra. And that happens on the 19th. So it's like the opposition with Saturn, moving into Libra, and then the opposition with Neptune. And that's triggering this air trine kite that last month was triggered by Mars. And then next month, Venus will be triggering it. But this month, it's Mercury and the Sun. Now, that's the other thing that happened last week, because Mercury and the Sun came together, and Mercury and the Sun together is an illuminated mind. It's like, oh, I finally understand. Brilliant. Brilliant. You know, it's like, this makes sense. Nothing's been making sense for so long. And it finally, wait a minute. Maybe it finally makes sense. We just have to end the usury. Using other people's energy to get more energy for yourself, because we are all our own source. So these realizations can come, and the Sun is who do we think we are in our identity, and Mercury is our conceptual reality. And so it's like a brilliant understanding, a moment of brilliancy or clarity on who we really are in Virgo, according to our relationship to the Earth stewards. We have to face this. This is our karma. Our karma is that we love the Earth so much, we're not going to give up on her. And we've taken the blame, and we've gone through hell and back, and we're going to show up, and we're going to say, hey, we're her Earth Steward warriors, and she says no more, and we stand with her, because we're the ones in the body. That's what Edgar Casey reading said. Remember this. You are authority because you have the body. They don't have human bodies. They've been stealing everything from us. So this is our empowerment. And so when this energy of Mercury coming in, and then the Sun, because the Sun will make these oppositions on the 21st and the 23rd. So basically from the 16th to the 26th, it's about 10 days of this kite, Mercury kite, Sun kite. Because then the Sun will be on the Equinox, right? Moving into Libra. So exactly at the moment of the Equinox, in between two oppositions, both pointing to the old, reclaiming the miracles and magic. And so we can birth a new human. And that's a new Earth. New Earth is a new human, a new level of human experience that's been stolen from us. And we got to get ready to come back into elite status with our humble love for humanity and the visionary leaders that we are, and the hope, and the way we've, through all of this and all the negativity around us, being like, I see a different way. I see a different way. It could be different. We could do it better. We could do it more. We could love more, take care more. If this is the main energy of supernova souls, then we know that the biggest commodity in our world is care. And then we've got a health care system with care in the word. Can't even talk about it. So we need all these systems are very deliberately being demolished, glorious demolition, so we can build new, complete new systems. And we need you. Like, we need you, supernovas. And we need those who followed you in past lives, because they're looking for you. And they're like, what are we going to do this time? We're so excited. Come on, boss, let's go. So here's where we are. So then as Mercury makes that, so the Sun also came into the grand water trine. And then when Mercury and the Sun move into the grand air trine kite, they're at the bottom of the kite. So they were at the top of the grand water trine kite, which is about Black Moon Lilith, Jupiter in Cancer expanding into love, Black Moon Lilith, the darkness that's keeping us in separation, and the South or the North Node in Pisces, how do we reclaim the miracles? And so that energy, and then so it's like lifting up out of like water and love and compassion to harmonize the shadowy darkness and the fear and the pain and the shame of the Black Moon Lilith is bringing up for us. Then they move, that's at the top, they're at the top of the kite leading the way. Then they move to the bottom of the kite, Mercury and the Sun, traditionally masculine energies, in a more submissive position. And but also we've got Neptune and Saturn there. So, and what's going on with Venus is during this whole thing is that she's in square to Uranus. Just came out of Black Moon Lilith square, now into square with Uranus. That happens on the 21st. We start feeling it on the 18th in a couple days. But I think we're feeling it now because it's this grip and this hold on the energy that's actually our energy and our resources, but it's been stolen from us. And they want to try to charge us to get it back, you know, charge us interest. See how interest is so illegal in mom's world. There's a whole different way we can do this. And there's masterminds behind the scenes building this whole new system out. And that's because of the work you've done, Supernova Souls. We're the energetic change, and then it happens in the world. It's beautiful. So it's intense, though, because at the same time, we got Venus square Uranus, and that's a challenge on these technologies. Who owns the intuitive technologies? Is it those souls that have it in their very own body and have worked with it in past lives? Or is it those monsters that stole it from us? What happens with those advanced technological beings turn on their technology? Everything's going to be on that. And it's like just that world, it just doesn't even exist. It only exists, they showed us in quantum physics, right? It only exists if we put our attention on it and we think it exists. And that's literally what we're doing. We're putting on the new world now. And then the media is like, no, don't go anywhere. We need you. We still want your energy. You know, it's like, oh no, we're over here. And that just dissolves and fades. That's what happens when we leave behind what's no longer useful for us. So so Venus in square Uranus is such a challenge because Venus is in Leo at the end degrees of Leo. And then it's about why can't the feminine shine? Why can't the intuitive leaders be on top again? Why can't we respect and honor Mother Earth and just do it right? And then that's happening right at the same day as the eclipse. And a couple of days later, we'll be feeling Mars so Venus will move over into Virgo on the 20th. And that's when she comes into that square with Uranus. So it's like the end degrees of Leo leading up to that is intense because it's just like the pressure is on for us to shine and show ourselves. And yet there's so much darkness around our light still. And so, but then that happens on the 21st, but then we're going to start feeling right after the eclipse. Then we have the Equinox on Monday. We're going to start feeling Mars coming into square with Pluto. And Mars, so it's really interesting because this is another indication of the timeline shift, right? 2 Virgo new moons, eclipse season, you know, to a bottom, Mercury and the Sun going from the bottom of the kite, or from the top of the kite to the bottom of the kite. It's kind of ego death energy, right? Like you're not who you thought you were because you're not that person they made you out to be. You're so much more beautiful, right? The people around you have been programmed, indoctrinated, and karmically required to try to keep you small because you're a commodity, a source of energy for your family. They cannot have access to your source of energy unless they treat you and control you with money and treat you like garbage. Then you believe that they're in charge of your energy and they have access to your energy. This is a gatekeeper vibration where people around us for lifetimes have had the karmic position to be gatekeepers on our technology. And now we face down these gatekeepers and we say, well, it's not your technology, and therefore you cannot gatekeep it. You cannot keep me from it. You don't have to come, but you have to get out of the way. And this is where we're at, just breaking through, major breakthroughs in advanced technologies being shared with the public. So Mars square Pluto. So when you have these intense squares and you have kites, the squares are like a pry bar, like lifting up the kite, like, come on, let's go. We got an air trine kite. You know, we're trying to go from the heaviness of the end of Pisces, of the death, of the hopelessness, of the dissolving and dissolution into the birth of new life. So when you look at this, if you draw out the chart of this astrology for this time around this weekend we've got the new moon eclipse and the equinox, you've got these two kites and they're literally upside down on top of each other, but just off, and each kite is 4 points. So that's an 8-pointed star. And then we've got these two squares, really intense squares with Pluto, Mars and Pluto, so intense. Mars, our warrior. And so Mars is coming into the sign of Scorpio on the 23rd. He loves being in Scorpio. Same thing as Venus and Virgo. I mean, Mars is a ruler of Scorpio, loves being Scorpio. It's like, yeah, let's move this energy. Finally, enough suppression. But then he comes right into that square with Pluto and Aquarius at 1 degree. And so it's saying, no, the movement of the darkness is required for our intuitive leaders, visionary leaders to step forward. Because Pluto retrograde at the beginning of Aquarius is like, we don't have our leaders yet. We don't have our leaders. We got to go back and then move forward and get our leaders. So Mars at the 1 degree of Scorpio, wanting to move the energy, so we have to face the darkness and we have to find out who our leaders really are. We got to heal them and pull them out of the scarcity, of the aloneness, of the abandonment, of like everyone turning against you when you're the most precious resource we have. I'm so sorry. And yet you thrived through it all. Look at you. No one would know what you've gone through because you've healed. And you know it's possible. And now you can help others. So with those two squares of Venus and Uranus, and they're in fixed signs at at the beginning of mutable signs, and then Mars and Pluto at the beginning of fixed signs. So Scorpio, Aquarius. So the mutable signs are adjustment. So it's saying we've got Venus, Uranus, gotta figure out the real story of the technology, because Uranus moving back into Gemini for good is like, now we tell the whole tale. But I think this time of Uranus going back into Taurus and into Gemini is the telling of the whole tale. And so that's the adjustment we need to have made is the sharing of the truth of advanced technologies. And then Mars says this is what can release the darkness from the visionary intuitive leaders that we need to move into the Aquarian age. Pluto retrograde in the early degrees of Aquarius. So it's just so powerful. And kites have sextiles that make the top of the kite. And so that means we've got 4 sextiles, except for one of the tops of the kite is Saturn and Neptune both. So that means we've got 6 sextiles and an 8-pointed star. And another square, it's like this powerful X underneath the kites, Also all these oppositions. The other thing, so actually before Mars comes into the square with Pluto, he is going to oppose Chiron. And that's the big thing. That's on the 17th tomorrow. We're feeling this. So that's probably what I was actually feeling. Mars is in Libra and trying to fight for justice, trying to activate this compassion, this collaboration, and then in opposition to Chiron. And Chiron says, Chiron and Aries, wounds over where we gave our power away. And you know, Aries, they'll take it for a long time and then they won't. And so Chiron and Aries is saying, no more Mr. Nice Guy. No more compromising mother's ideals. No more, you go ahead and do your evil acts over there and we'll do our thing over here. We're not going to play host on this planet. There are no more resources available for evil acts. And facing the acts that have been done, not just allowed to happen by our government, but funded by our government. It's not pretty. And we all are going to have to feel horribly abandoned and betrayed. But supernova souls, you felt that your whole life and for lifetimes. So you're over it. You're like, yeah, go feel it, experience it. But let's move on into the abundant cup of what this is all about. You're so important and so crucial. May your life be filled with blessings. May you have the absolute clearest guidance in your heart and your soul to just bring your life into alignment with this greatest path. You don't know what it is. We don't know who we are, but it's what our soul wants us to be and Mother wants us to be in our higher self. You know, the true potential. So some of these mantras we can work with as we reprogram our reality. It's like, I'm walking in my abundance. I'm walking in my abundance. I'm walking in my abundance. The world responds to my abundance with abundance. You know, I'm healed, whole, loved, and cared for. I am operating in my full potential. My life is becoming what it wants to be. I'm surrounded by people who want to support and love me and care about what I care about just as much as I care about it. So these are ideas that we can kind of take this thing of like, instead of getting sucked into the world events and the dramas right now, be like, what's my event? What's mom's news? What's the astrology say? Where am I at in this? My direct communication. And then what do I want to vibrationally put out into the universe right now? Because as you own your field, that owning your energetic field course, and you have those skills, you become a lighthouse. We are a lamp. So that we are a stronger informational message than any tower, any TV station, any radio station, any satellite. And so we've got to take responsibility for what we're emitting, you know, vibrationally as we turn on our light, you know, and that's a lot of what we're going through, facing the deepest inner leftover darkness within that might be keeping us from making this leap into our full potential. So this Mars opposite Chiron says we're not going to play. Now, this is a foreshadowing of the big definitive transit that's coming, which is Jupiter square Chiron. Jupiter will be square. Jupiter in Cancer is going to retrograde and square up with Chiron at before and after, I believe, turning retrograde. And so their first squares will be the second part of October and then the second part of December. Then there will be a third and final square in July, I believe, of, wait, no. That's when Jupiter opposes Pluto. And so this is very powerful for coming to the end of the year. Jupiter in square to Chiron in Cancer, retrograding through Cancer, being like, wait, we didn't get enough of the mother's love. We didn't heal the wound. We don't know what we're doing. We're flailing around feeling lost and alone while living in a world of magnificent abundance. It doesn't make sense anymore, does it? So that's the energy of that, and having these, so all those sextiles are these creative solutions. We've got creative solutions for the visionary leaders coming forward. We've got creative solutions for the disclosure of technologies. We've got creative solutions for the healing of the dark shadows that's keeping us from stepping into our light. We've got creative solutions for expanding into the mother's love. And but that Jupiter square Chiron through the end of the year is that real kind of saying like, wait, like what's mine is mine and I need to own it, and you don't get to steal it and then use it to control me. That's what's been happening with the resources of Earth. And that's humanity standing up in their power. And we stand for them and with Mother. So incredibly powerful times that we're living in. And that'll kind of culminate with a Jupiter opposition with Pluto as Jupiter moves into the sign of Gemini. I mean, I mean, Leo. Yeah, Jupiter moves into Leo. And so then we need to expand into our light, and then boom, opposition with Pluto. That will happen at 4 degrees. And that will happen in July of 2026. So July of 2026 is a big culmination of the last and final chapter of this story. But we move now. The timeline says we move now. We've got a whole bunch of recapitulation to deal with, but we move now. The flip is now. The wealth, the return of wealth, and valuation of true value happens right here in the heart and soul of SuperNova soul as you stand in your wealth and power, and just be willing to receive and treat yourself with respect. So coming up here, we want to pay attention to the first thing that's we're going to be feeling is, Mercury moving into the sign of Libra. The opposition with Saturn, Mercury-Saturn, is on the 17th, and we're start feeling that today. So we're moving right into this kite flip time, and we'll just see what that looks like. All of it's coming together. It's these squares, these lining up, these energies are so dynamic and so powerful because the kites are like so much possibility. But if you don't have any tension to push you into possibility, then you can't take advantage of the possibility. And that's a lot of maybe the definition of our life recently, and what the astrology is telling us, that yeah, you have been going through a hard time, but it is because you're lifting up into a whole new reality. And here we go. And so those squares are really, really important. But the opposition, Mars opposite Chiron, and then Mars square Pluto. Venus just had that square with Black Wind Lilith, and now coming into square with Uranus. So it's like the squares are 90-degree angles. It's the end of the way we've been doing things. But we are coming to the end only so that we can lift up into a new beginning. And the kite shape, the air trine kite, has this energy. The water trine kite is like flowing along, but the air trine kite is like lifting up and turning, right? And that's the whole message of the pyramids. We know there's tons of pyramids throughout this whole world that were built by the master builders in ancient times. That's us, the 22s and the 11s and the 33s. And we were working with these advanced technologies to build these temples. And so these are just an example of what we actually have affinity and understanding of as we move into the disclosure of our ancient histories and things. And so the master builders were built these technologies, and that's what was stolen to be used against us. And we are them, the giants. And we have to stand. Maybe that's why it's been so hard for us to function, because we're really big, huge beings, energetic beings, squished in too small of a density in 3D. Born on the wrong planet, it feels like, but it's actually our planet that was abducted. And now we're going to bring them all home to her, rebirth her, regrow her in her own regenerative power. Can you rebirth and regrow yourself in your own regenerative power? That's what she says. And like, we're in the flip, and it's just going to be like boom, boom, boom. So the other thing that's saying evidence of this big shift that's happening is that Mercury, Venus, and the Sun and Mars are all shifting signs within a couple of days of each other. And when that happens, it's like this kind of like, here we go all together into something new. It also means that there's all these planets lining up at the 1 degree, 0 degree, 1 degree marker. Say 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Right? So where are you at 0? Where are you ready to go to 1? This is the message and the energy of the astrology. Just a complete lineup of planets all the way around. So we've got Venus moving into Libra on the 19th. Mercury moving into Libra on the 19th. Venus moving into Virgo on the 20th. That's the day before the new moon eclipse on the 21st. And on the 21st is the day that the sun will be in exact opposition to Saturn. So the sun kite on the eclipse, just as Venus moves into Virgo and comes into that square with Uranus. So the exposure, disclosure of the technologies, advanced technologies that have been stolen from us. It just all comes down to this. We're stuck until that happens. We've been waiting for our government to do it for us after all the patents they've stolen and all the people they've killed for their inventions. It's not happening. Are we the disclosure? What does that mean? I don't know, but it's going down. So get ready. And then we've got on the 22nd, the sun will move into Libra and then come into the opposition with Neptune. So the sun kite is happening just exactly. The whole window of the equinox happens at about the middle of the day. The eclipse happens about the middle of the day on Sunday, and the equinox is the middle of the day, at least a mountain time, 24 hours later on Sunday. So, on Monday. So that 24-hour window is pure magic, and it has all to do with birthing the new spiritual human, with the sun opposite Neptune at 1 degree, 0 degrees. Neptune just moved to 0 degrees today. So the sun at the moment of equinox, in exact opposition to Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, the beginning of the zodiac, the 0 and the 1. I feel like it's us freeing ourselves from the matrix simulation, right? Because they're trying to make us into zeros and ones. He, she's. Like, take away the sacred, beautiful archetypes of the masculine and the feminine. Take away our ability to think outside the box and see the other side, and take away our personality and steal all our energy and turn us into robots, which is zeros and ones. We're going to take the zeros and ones back now, because that's all you get. You get a 0 or a 1. You can be birthing or you can be born. We walk in wholeness. And the astrology says so. So that Sun-Neptune opposition is an activation of Neptune in Aries. Wild that Neptune's going to move back into Pisces first before really actualizing that in January. And then this Mars is on the 23rd moving into Scorpio. So all of those planets moving signs is another indication. And a lot of times you'll see this in birth charts. If you see a certain energy, like the person has some expression in writing or something like that, you're going to see that demonstrated at least 3 times in the chart in different ways. And they're like, oh yeah, that's for real. That exists. And that's what's happening in the sky right now. Are you guys not getting it yet? The lineup? Are you not feeling it? Are we still just walk around and be like, I'm trapped in some horrible prison? I'm in a spiritual awakening and it's wild and amazing. So maybe that's our flip too, huh? From the depressing state of abandonment and rejection and poverty and scarcity and low self-worth, right? Into the abundance that we are. But it's also about taking back the high vibration, the good life, the joy, the celebration. We've been working our butts off, going through so much. While really bad people have been that had all kinds of, disposable wealth. Nobody has to lose for everyone to win. And that is the energy of the higher octave of the Aquarian age, humanitarian. So get ready. get your avenues and your projects. So once you do the Owning Your Energetic Field course, and you can do them in different order depending on what you want, but I want to talk about the goddess activation, because the goddess activation is like your permission to access creation energy in your body and your field. And that's so like you want to learn. So all the stuff about owning your field is also in the goddess activation, but they're very complementary, because it's like the Owning Your Energetic Field is containment and autonomy so that you're not leaking your energy out. Then you can go increase your creation energy with the goddess activation, right? And create that world you're meant, that life that you're meant to live. And so thank you so much for considering those classes, those offerings. Every supernova soul that does that work benefits the whole group. And so I'm just so honored if you can take part in that. Also, if you'd like to leave a donation, that's really super helpful for this ad-free space, for this free offering here. Again and again, from my heart to yours, there's a link to donate in the information box if you might be able to do that right now. Thank you so much. I have a limited amount of individual sessions available, more information on my website, and also the soul group membership, a great deal, $20 a month, gets you into both the new moon and the full moon activation, and then you never miss an activation, whether you show up and have the time to do it live or on the replay. You are with us and you receive because you've said yes to this information that comes through at those new and full moons. So what I found is that the messages of the astrology around the new and full moons is what really can help move us forward. So that's why we want to come in, especially the eclipses, the equinoxes. So what I'm going to have offering for this new moon eclipse is a new moon activation, and that's our second Virgo new moon activation. That will be Friday, September 19th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Then on Monday at the exact time, leading up to the exact time of the equinox, we'll do the soul group session. The soul group session will represent the eclipse and the whole eclipse season, but at the time of the equinox, the flip and the shift. So I hope you'll consider joining me for one or both of these events. And thank you so much for your support, coming back again and again. The best support you can give me is just being here and present and listening. And I feel you, I feel you, I feel what you're going through, and I feel you, your reciprocal support energetically to me. And I really appreciate that. And that's what Mom says. Can it be reciprocal? Instead of one always taking from the other, and the narcissist parasitic reality, it's lose-lose, really. And now we got to go to win-win, and that's you. So thank you so much, Supernova Souls, for being here, for being you, for all you've gone through. And let's just stay really present and connected through this final eclipse of this eclipse season, and hold space for the flip within us, whatever that flip is with you. Because Mother's been saying, this flip from the inside out, upside down, to the right side in, right side up, or whatever, it can't be part way, right? We can't angle it. It's not like, okay, well, just, and so we're teetering. And then sometime, boom, in an instant, in the blink of an eye, it's written everywhere. And we're heading into this. So hold tight, get excited, get grounded, take care of yourself, be ready to take care of some people around you. Have some extra love, care, sleep, food, water, money, cash on hand. It's going to be a glorious adventure, but it might be a little bit bumpy in the transition time. Thank God you're here for us. May you be showered with blessings that represent the abundance within you that you've not held back on for the world. What have we gone through, Supernova Souls? And we keep showing up in absolute total love and devotion after being treated so horribly. You are such a rock star. And I cannot wait to celebrate with you all of those gifts within you. Supernova Souls have so much. You call them resume man, because they always have so many things that they're listing that they've done in this class and that work and this type of job, and and all of our skills. And that's the energy of the kite. And maybe that's why this came up at this moment. The kite in a birth chart is about bringing together the different elements of who we've been in different past lives. We haven't been able to integrate. So remember that for the kite. We got 2 kites. We got a water trine kite. We got an air trine kite. We're putting together all of these pieces of ourselves so we can flow and we can lift. We can surrender and we can activate and build beautiful things. The air trine kite is a new renaissance. Whatever we build in these new structures is going to be beautiful. Like people feeling really cared for and worthy of good care, because that's got to start first. And so I guess that's our work. Thank you so much, Supernova Souls. I love you so much. Thank you for your support. Let's stay in touch energetically, and I hope to see you at the full moon activation Friday the 19th. The new moon activation Friday the 19th, or the eclipse soul group session on Monday the 22nd, and a sacred window in between. So let's stay present and be together energetically, and just send love to your supernova tribe. When you feel it, send love to them. It'll come right back to you, because we are so connected. It's such a beautiful, glorious adventure, and nothing can stop it. And nobody can do anything to you. You've overcome it all. Congratulations. Now we step through to the new. So I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you, hopefully at that activation or soul group session Friday or Monday. And but on the next update, I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.